Welcome to Venture with Joe and Cody, where we take a deep dive into the minds of leaders and innovators making a real impact today. I'm Joe.
And I'm Cody. And we're here to bring you the raw stories, the successes, and the setbacks that these trailblazers have experienced in their journey to where they are today.
Every week, we sit down with a new guest who's ready to share their insight and advice on business, entrepreneurship, and making a difference in their community. From local community members to industry experts, you're going to get the unfiltered truth behind their success.
So whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur, a seasoned professional, or just curious about the business world, join us for a journey of learning and inspiration.
So let's grab a drink, settle in, and let's get started. This is Venture with Joe and Cody. Hello. We are back for another episode of Venture with Joe and Cody. I'm Joe. That's Cody. I'm with EXP. He's with Residential Mortgage. I'm in Oregon. He's in Washington.
That's right.
Else? That was good.
It's
that
was great. We're like opposites, yet we pair well together.
Yes, it's like
wine
a
and
fine wine and cheese.
Yes.
Speaking of wine and cheese, I kind of want to get a membership to is it Willamette Estates? Anyways, we had a thing the other day with friends. It was really good. He's got a sommelier, whatever it is. The person that's like really good at wine.
Sommelier, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, a friend of his, he's like, you guys should try wines and just kind of like document what try to get good at it, like in the sense of just like it'd be fun, just talk about because everyone's preference difference, and Christine and I are not like classy wine drinkers.
Same here.
So I wouldn't know the difference. Everyone's like oaky or walnut or whatever. I have no idea. So anyways, we had a night.
Just fill it up.
Yeah, we had a night that we tried two French wines and 2 Italian wines, and we had to like document, like we went through. It was almost like a game of like, not a game, but we wrote down like
like a
what
test.
Is this like is it light? Is it clear? Is it like different things? And it was actually pretty cool. Like you did start to like, and no one was wrong. So it's like you heard what people were thinking, and then you're like, oh yeah. And then so anyways, long story short, it was a good time. It was really fun. I feel like you do learn stuff, and I think I can see why winos like start to be able to determine flavors, based on if you really think about it, like
right.
And we had the chance to jot things down and talk about it. It was very nerdy, but it was
sure.
really cool. But I want
probably kind of cool though.
Yeah, it was fun. And we went, and then you just drank the bottles anyway. Like after you did the
you're like, okay, I don't care now.
Can't leave them open, so
they're gonna go bad in a matter of an hour.
Yeah, exactly. But Willamette, I think it's Willamette Estates. They have a ton of locations. One in Lake Oswego that Christina and I have been dying to be a part of this, and it's not anything like anyone can do it, but we have every single time tried to go there. They're closed, and it's not like we've gone.
Oh, no way!
And it's not that they're closed all the time. It's the fact that like I think that every time we think of going, it's like a Tuesday, and they're like, "That's the day we close."
It's the one day we're not open.
Yeah, so we're hoping that we can get to there and become members of that.
Yeah,
of that fine.
So they have like tasting rooms, and then you get like
they have tasting rooms all over, and that's what we liked,
bottles.
Especially for clients. And this is kind of a pitch to clients. Even if you don't like Christine and I, if you like wine, we can take our clients. We can take our clients to. There's one in Lake Oswego. There's one in Salem. It's the one in Salem. I think it's the one in Salem, right off I-5. The one you see, right by Enchanted Forest.
Oh yeah.
And then they have Dundee or Dayton. They have like multiple locations. Just make it super convenient to say, oh, we can meet here for dinner or lunch, or we'll take you there, Cody.
Yeah, let's go.
Members. We'll take you.
I like it. Let's go.
We'll see your wine tasting skills.
They're very top notch.
If you're anything like me, you're like reaching under the table with the boxed wine and kind of pouring the boxed wine.
Yes. We did that because we've gone down to Dundee. I don't remember what the place is. We've gone to a few different places down there, and we had talked about it, but it was like, man, by the time we actually get those whatever, couple bottles a month or whatever it is that you're
quarter,
getting, we just kind of go on a kick every once in a while where I do enjoy wine, but I don't really like, it's not my go-to thing if I want to have something. But one time we took a little vacation to Eagle Crest, and We're like, let's get a couple different bottles. Let's get a couple nice bottles and
Yeah.
let's get a couple cheap bottles. And
Just
we
see
can
what
do
happens.
our kind of like what you did, right?
Yeah.
A little comparison. And it wasn't that the cheap wine was better. It was just the difference in flavor between a $8 bottle and a $40 bottle, which I know there's way more expensive bottles than that. But like, just kind of like I'm like, I would take the cheap wine over that any day because it tastes similar enough to me. I'm not a wine drinker.
Yeah, that is not worth it.
It's I guess probably like anything. The more you do it, the more you realize like, oh, I don't really like that flavor as much. This one's smoother.
Sure.
It's got these different flavors. But from somebody that drinks, wine at a wedding or a random thing where there's wine, and I'm like, okay, sure, I'll try that. It's wine is wine, kind of like. But I'm that way with it, even with beer. Like I like certain beers, but I'm still like, I'll take whatever you have.
Yeah, I'm like, you can't take the country out of us, I
think so.
I like Miller Lite,
Yeah.
Like I don't need anything fancy.
No, I don't need anything
fancy.
fancy.
But it's like if you just give me a Keystone Light, I'll be like, okay, like that's
as
fine.
long as it's just lukewarm, then I'm good. I'll take it.
Yeah, I don't want it cold.
I don't want it.
That's for sure. And as long as I can just shotgun it,
right? Yes, that's the problem. If it gets too cold, you can't chug it.
Get to brain freeze. No one wants that.
Right?
Yeah. I'm kind of the same. And I feel
cool.
like an idiot, but it's like I'm the same. It's like my palate is so cheap that I don't need anything fancy. But it was intriguing to kind of get into a nicer wine, and
that's kind of cool.
Yeah, and it'll be good. So it'll be fun. We give clients like gifts and stuff for closings, and we put wine in it most of the time. So that'll be a good resource to have. Good write-off.
Definitely.
It's all free once you write it off, right?
That's right. Yeah, it's fake money.
It's like everything's
well,
free.
the nice thing with that though too, like that one, is you have multiple locations as opposed to just only one spot. So you can
is you can go like in some places are only Dundee and things like that. It's like we want a place that we can take people, especially like us, we go being close to us, that we can take people to dinner, take people to lunch, those sort of things that are nearby. So got the most resources, best bang for our buck. So
there's a tasting room up here in the waterfront. They've done a lot of stuff in the waterfront in Vancouver over the last few years. And there's Maryhill, I think is
sounds really familiar.
The tasting room in there, and it's a pretty cool spot. Like it's more of like a restaurant type feel as far as size and the tables and everything, but it's just like one big tasting room, and they've got hundreds and hundreds of different wines there, and it's pretty cool. Like it makes you, when you go to something like that, you're like, oh, this would be kind of cool. Like I could see us doing this as a fun little date night thing. It's a different environment. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I could see it being a cool thing.
We went years ago I've been there more recently, but we went years ago for a friend's birthday party, and it was at night, and it was just such a hip place. And I was like, this is not, I loved it, but it was like, man, it was good to get back in the scene in a sense, because you're like, wow, okay, people still do go and do fun things, and like young kids all dressed up, and like, you could just tell they're like excited about life, and and so it was just so funny being there and seeing like, man, we were there. Like we were there once. Like
exactly.
They're all dressed, like they all have their fancy stuff on. They're all like so motivated and happy. And not that I'm not, but it's just an interesting, going back a time period or to a place that it goes back in generations that you can kind of see totally yourself back then. It was just really interesting. But they have really cool hip places there that are a lot of fun. The waterfront Vancouver's done a good job with that.
Yeah. Now you just show up in flip flops and shorts and and whatever. You're like,
that always bugged me when I was with the Gov. We went to events that were like, formal. It would say invitation formal or whatever it might have been, or semi-formal, whatever. And it's like Oregon. And she even joked. She was like, it's Oregon formal, which basically means anything. And I was like, that is not okay. Like people have these big events and they have these big fundraisers, and they're like, hey, this is your attire. And then we'll have an Oregonian, senator or politician or lobbyist like wearing a sports coat and jeans and ratty tennis shoes or whatever. I'm like, really? Like, come on. This is a formal event. We're all in like suits, ties, everything. Like, as the hired help, as the hired meatheads to protect the governor, we're dressed up better than them. So It's so interesting in Oregon. Like if you went, my brother's in DC, and it's like when it says a formal or not, you're dressing like that. Like DC is like a
Sure.
different game of politics, and they dress up
Uh-huh.
for sure. It's pretty cool. I don't know how we
Yeah.
got into dress up for politics, but
Right. Side note,
yes.
so went down to my dad's for the 4th of July
Okay.
and got to see some family and everything. And I was talking to my cousin, and he was saying that he works with Kevin,
Oh, really?
your brother. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
McMinnville
was like,
Water
oh,
and
yep.
Water and Light.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
You
He said
know, Ryan
he
Stick
hired
is
him.
there too.
I knew that too. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. But he's like, oh, hey, I work with Kevin
Oh, that's
Skipper.
cool.
And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
no way. He's like, yeah, I actually hired him. I don't know how long ago, whenever it was. And
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
like, he's just like taken off and ran with it.
Oh,
And I'm
that's
like,
great.
oh, no way. That's cool. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's cool. Yeah,
small
Kevin, we always
world,
joke,
even though
well,
it's,
maybe he is going to be, but we joke that he's going to be mayor of Carlton at some point. So,
oh, nice.
but he's city council person or whatever you call it.
Okay. Nice. That's,
He'll do it. I bet he'll do it. So
uh-huh.
I was like, I already am the worst because I'm like, okay, so what do we get out of it? Like, what's the, politicians always get
Yeah.
something. Like, where's
Right.
where's the freebies? Do I get an armed guard at my house? 'Cause
Exactly.
you're the mayor of Carlton. Like,
Right. You get
I
a
need
free
a
wine
driver.
membership.
Like, I need a driver and I need a free wine membership. So I was
Yeah.
like, hopefully your mayoral career lasts a long time. But I'm gonna try
Right.
to take advantage of it. I'm just kidding. Anyone
Yeah.
who's listening, I'm not gonna do that. But I just think
But
it's
maybe.
funny because he gets
Yeah.
super serious about it, and he's like, "No, never. I would never." I'm like, "I'm just kidding, man. It's not a big. I'm just literally joking between me and you." Like,
Yes.
like,
We're not being recorded
but
right now.
yes, I don't think. But we are
Yeah.
now. Like,
We are now. Yeah. So it's
so
cat's
this
out
will
of the
be used as
bag.
evidence case number. Like,
Right.
I have nothing to do with the Carlton mayor or anything like that. Just anyone who's
Yes.
listening. So,
Nor do I.
well, I wanted to talk today on the real estate world. We've been kind of going into like more or less kind of in a path of the contract of going into a sale and what buyers should be aware of. Last 2 weeks ago, we talked about appraisals. That's kind of why we jumped ahead. Appraisals. Last week we talked about the difference between down payments and closing costs and how those, and that was, I think, really beneficial. So if you don't know anything about that, go back to that episode because it was really good. I think learning between what a closing cost is and a down payment is something way overlooked by most buyers and just don't know. And most buyers see it at the end of a closing statement and are like, what's going on here? So, definitely something to check out. But today I was thinking of going in the inspection because inspection is basically the primary way as a buyer that you can back out of a deal within the first 10 business days and grab your earnest money and go. So the inspection, for those of you who don't know, is a time that you have the ability to inspect a home. You can, depending on the contract and depending on what you asked for, you can do a general home inspection, radon, sewer scope, mold, inspection, whatever you want to do based within the contract that you made in the offer. You have a certain amount of time to do it. I think it's an important time to really look at the house and get that done. But it may or may not have ramifications with your loan and things like that. I think because Cody's here and it's lending, I won't get into the nitty gritty of an inspection, the details of it, but more of like kind of post inspection, what we can do. So, Cody, you can speak to this, like what it can be used for. But basically, in an inspection, you see XYZ of stuff that needs to be done. You can either ask for money off the top of the home. You can ask for closing cost credit. You can ask for it to be repaired. You can ask for a combination of all three of those. And we have talked before about price of home versus closing costs. So kind of tell me what your opinion is on, say, for example, we have an inspection. It's about, let's just use a $10,000, let's go $20,000. $20,000 worth of work that the inspector found needed to be done. Buyers come to me and say, hey, there's $20,000 of work. What do we do? What do you have clients do generally, and kind of what your thoughts are on it, generally speaking? Obviously, everyone's different.
Yeah.
Everyone's specific is different, but what's your thoughts on it?
So usually part of it will depend on if there's already seller concessions like at the beginning of the contract. So we'll say in this case, there's no seller concessions. So meaning that the sellers are not paying, they're not agreeing to pay for any of the buyer's closing costs. And then you get to the point where the inspection stuff has come up and whatever that number is, call it $20,000. What I would do is I would walk through with the buyers on, obviously it's going to, we can use all 20,000 of that in most cases, right? Like if you're buying a $200,000 home, that can be a little more challenging because the cost for the fees are lower. So $20,000, you might be exceeding what the limit is anyways, but call it a $700,000 house. We can use that to cover all of the closing costs. You can also use it to buy the rate down more. You could do a temporary buy down with it. You could do a permanent buy down with it. We can cover if there's still money left over, you can use it to get reimbursed for your inspection that you already paid the inspector. So you can get that reimbursed. Pretty much anything that is paid through the loan other than your down payment. You can't use the seller credit for that to cover any of your down payment. But outside of that, you can have it cover everything. So usually what we'll do is, like, if the seller has already agreed to pay closing costs, maybe we'll use whatever's left over to pay the rest of them if there's still something needed, or maybe buy the rate down a little bit more. And then we'll probably just have to use the remaining to reduce the purchase price, because there's a certain threshold where you're like, we just can't really apply it to much else. So let's drop the purchase price. But usually paying for the closing costs makes a much bigger impact than bringing the price down.
Yeah.
Call it $5,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you drop the purchase price $5,000, it's going to change your payment by, not much, $5, $10, pretty minimal. But saving $5,000 in your bank account and using that towards something else, it would take you years and years and years to recoup. If you're saving $10 or $15 a month based on your lower purchase price, it's going to take you forever to save up $5,000 through that.
Yeah, for sure.
Whereas $5,000 could be applied towards whatever, moving costs, furniture, upgrades, whatever it might be. So usually that's the route that I will walk them through, of just kind of the comparison, because it's a pretty straightforward comparison when you show the numbers. Here's how much you're going to save by reducing the purchase price. Here's how much is going to go in your bank account, by them paying your closing costs and that not coming out of your pocket. So,
yep. And tell me if I'm wrong, but what I like to do is kind of work with the lender to say, especially in this market, there's a lot of offers being accepted that are already giving closing costs right off the bat. And so then when you run into that event of, like, Cody's like, I can only give you $5,000 more in closing cost credit, there's just nowhere else to use it, but you're asking for 10.
Yeah.
You can, like I said earlier, you can do a combination of both. So we find out, hey, Cody, what's the max we can get? We ask that for seller, in closing cost credit. And rather than say, okay, well, we have like $3,500 to buy the price down, or, to take off the price of the house, it's so minuscule. So what I generally suggest is that we have the work done. Like pick a couple things that equal that $3,500 or get close to it, mold remediation or something, in that price range, to say, why don't you get that work done? Because dropping that off the price of the house is not going to, it's not going to help you in any way, in a real way that's going to matter. And then it also gets a project fix that you don't have to then do when you move in the house. So
totally.
So there's lots of options to do. With that. So it's not always price, and generally it isn't price unless people's priority is, like, you've had these people of, like, we're paying off our mortgage, so whatever we can knock off the mortgage price, that's what we want. And so then you start going ask for a drop in the price. But most people are a combination of a closing cost and repair addendum to get things done. But
and we don't
go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, we don't, as the lender, and this isn't just our company, this is in general, we don't have to get a copy of the inspection. We don't need to be involved in the inspection. If anything, we as a company don't want anything to do with the inspection, because, as a loan officer, we can be as much as somebody wants us to be. But from a paperwork standpoint, from a review of any kind, we don't want to see it, because once we see whatever is going on, it's kind of hard to unsee. And usually with an inspection, I mean, you've seen them all the time where it's like you can take a really nice house and then an inspector can do a good job of making it feel like, holy smokes, is this thing even livable?
Is it gonna stay up?
Right? Like this is, we're gonna have to bulldoze this thing.
Sure,
but they do a really good job of that. But yeah, from our side, we don't need to get a copy of it. We don't need to be involved from a, hey, what are the things that are required? Because like we talked about last week, the appraisal is whatever is required from the appraisal is what we're going to have to follow,
care about,
not the inspection, because the inspection that's nitpicky little things. So
that's why it's important to have someone on an agent and a lender on your side and to trust them on the inspection portion of things, because it can really damage your deal if by accident you took things upon yourself to say, I'm a buyer, I'm going to go right to Cody and send in the inspection and say, what do you think we should do? Because once Cody has that, like, then it adds a whole bunch of complications. And it's not like anyone's trying to be shady. It's just, an inspection report is 40 to 60 pages of whether it's new construction or whether it's, a 1920s home that's run down. It's just, that's what it is. And it's just, it can really damage your deal to kind of take things into your own hands and start doing things. So for inspections, especially for inspections, is to trust your agent and trust your lender to kind of navigate that to what we know is a simple process. But if you make one little mistake, one email that gets sent the wrong way, or one thing that happens, like we've all had it where it's like, oh no, like it got sent on accident, and a buyer sent it on accident, or even a seller's agent sent it on accident. And you can get in a lot of trouble with it, it could hurt the home sale for sure.
Yeah. And if you like to do general maintenance to your home, you use that inspection and just, once you bought it, then you're like, okay, I'm going to just work my way down my checklist here because a lot of it, I mean, it is a lot of minor stuff, but it's all good things too, where you're like, oh, I would have never noticed that thing, that little thingy is something that could be pointed out. And, most of it you probably wouldn't even notice, but I've noticed that, like with our stuff, like when looking down through it every once in a while, I'm like, oh, okay, that's right. I forgot that was on there, because you just don't see a lot of it throughout your normal living in the home. So nice little checklist for you if you're that type of person.
I go through inspections all the time, and I'm like, I have not looked at that in my house. Like, especially like new construction, they're like, he's like, every 4 months you should check the specs on the rotary girder, and I'm like, I have no idea what that is, and I have never checked it in my life. Like,
exactly.
He's like,
no clue what it is,
set
where
a calendar and set it every 3 months. I'm like, well, my house has been owned for 6 years and never been touched, so hopefully it's still good.
I can hear that. Yeah, for sure.
One of the things for buyers that they don't know about generally is there are two costs that are upfront costs. We talked about one of them being the appraisal. That's an upfront cost that you have to pay right away to get the appraisal done. The other one is the inspection. So those are two larger purchases or larger investments that you need to make in the very beginning of your home sale that come out to what, $2,000 ish. So
right around there.
So if you're thinking that all this stuff is like, oh, it happens during close, it happens during this or whatever, or I'm going to get money in towards the end of close, it's like those are two things that the inspector gets paid right away and the appraiser gets paid right away. So just be aware of that. Generally speaking, in the latest has been kind of in the $8,000 to $1,000 range for a typical home inspection, sewer scope, and radon. So just be prepared to spend that money. You had mentioned, Cody, and I have never heard of this until you mentioned it to me, that could be reimbursed.
Yeah, so if there's money left. Yeah, if there's money left over from the seller, so the seller's paying, they're paying all your closing costs, and you've used up everything that you can. There's just nothing else that really can be done. Because sometimes you can continue to buy the rate down, but there's a bigger spread the farther you go. So there might be a situation where in order to buy the rate down more, it's going to cost an additional $4,000 and you only have $1,000 left of the seller credit. So when we don't have anything else that we can apply that to, what we can do is we can get the seller using that, say, $1,000 to cover the home inspection that you already paid for. And so the way that works is we just get a copy of the inspection. We get, a receipt showing that you paid for it. And then we get that out to, the way that it technically works is the inspector ends up canceling or reimbursing the buyer their cost for it.
And then you guys,
and then
give the
at
inspector
closing,
money. Okay.
exactly, at closing, then there's essentially a new invoice for the inspection, which is then paid for by the seller. So they just get reimbursed. Their money gets refunded back to them, and then the inspector gets paid again right at closing. So because anything that you paid towards the transaction out of your pocket prior to closing is something that is considered part of the transaction, which can be reimbursed by the seller if you have leftover. So that can be home warranties as well.
Okay.
Home inspections, radon, earthquake. I mean, you could do whatever it is.
That's interesting. I don't know how I haven't heard of this. Is this like residential, or is this all?
No, it's just a normal loan parameter guideline. It's just most of the time
on the selling side or the buying side, but I guess most of the time people just get their rate bought down to a certain point, and closing costs covered. So
part of the time, it like for me, I usually try to overestimate a little bit on what the closing costs are going to be, because I'd rather have a little bit left over and knowing that we can apply it towards something rather than being short. Because it sucks when you have your plan going into it is that the sellers are going to cover everything, and then something comes in a little bit more than what you were expecting, and then by the time you're at the end, you're like, hey, you still need to bring in an extra $1,000 for closing costs. So sometimes it's a matter of that, where it's like the fees come in, because when we get everything started, we're getting estimates from title, estimates from the appraiser, estimates for all this stuff, right? And so we can usually get pretty close, but there are times where it's like, oh wow, that was we overestimated on what that was going to cost, which is a great problem to be in. So then you have, sometimes you have some money left over.
Yeah.
And again, if you don't have enough to like buy down to the next rate, then you're just kind of stuck with that. And then again, home warranty or covering the cost of the inspection. Those are usually the two things. If there's money left over, those are the two things that are most used for, because you just kind of run out of options after that.
Yeah. And does the seller get that back then, or just doesn't ever come out?
Yes. Really? So if whatever would be left over afterwards,
it's just
then it would go back to the seller.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does the seller have to agree to the paying that? You were mentioning something like the seller gets the invoice, or is it just like, hey, seller, you're paying for the inspection?
Yeah, they don't even know, because it's just part of the original agreement that they're paying, call it $15,000. So they, as far as they know, $15,000 is being taken from their from their plate.
Yeah,
exactly. And so it's use it up as well as you can. And then if it came out to $14,500 and there was just nothing else left, then they'd get back an additional $500.
Okay.
So they don't get anything. Cool. It's all just done through title at closing, with the reimbursement and charging it to the seller from their proceeds.
Okay. And then finally, I just want to ask, or just like kind of say, basically to the buyers out there, there's a 10 business day inspection period, generally speaking, that can always be flexed lower or higher depending on the property, depending on the market, all that sort of stuff. That's the time that you'll be able to walk away and grab your earnest money in the event that you don't like the inspection. So just keep that in mind. Your agent should keep you on track, keep you in the know on that. And that's the time that kind of you're heavy into talking to your lender, talking to the agent, talking to the inspector to see kind of where we are at, what we need, and to make this deal happen and to make you feel comfortable with the sale. I have a random question before you go, on a VA closing cost. We talked about it last week, I think generally, maybe not VA. You have benefits being a VA, getting a VA loan, no down payment, no mortgage insurance. Closing costs. I think a misconception with a lot of VA, especially first-time VA home buyers, is that they're just going to come and say, I want to write a $500,000 offer, and I walk up to the closing table and there's no money out of my pocket.
Sure.
Can you explain, kind of generically that that's not the case?
Yeah. So VA closing costs, everything, it is going to be treated pretty much like any other loan would be. There was a little misconception a while ago. I don't feel like I hear it as much anymore, but there was this thought that the seller had to pay all the closing costs. And there are certain fees that the seller would have to pay, but those are not normal fees that happen throughout the transaction. In my 13 years, I've never ran into any of those fees that were a seller required fee. I can't remember exactly what it is.
Yeah.
There's like just a couple fees that they would be required to pay. And I don't know if it's a state thing where Oregon and Washington just don't have those certain fees as part of their transfer fees, title fees, stuff like that. Because I know there are other states that have different types of fees that are required. So maybe it's more applicable in those states that I don't typically lend in, where a seller would have to pay those. But overall, you're still going to pay your normal appraisal, title fees, setting up an escrow account,
so
lending
you'll
fees,
pay generally the same amount of closing costs. We talked about the difference of closing costs and down payment last week, so pay attention to that if you don't know what that is. But yes, you will still pay closing costs as a VA buyer. You'll still have that.
Yep.
And that's, and I'll say, just generally speaking, again, this is off, but $12,000 to $15,000, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yep. Yeah, and the only real difference with VA is there's a funding fee, which is what the VA charges to use their loan. But if you have over 10% or more in disability through the VA, then that funding fee is waived.
Okay.
But it also can be financed into the loan. So it's like, it's all the same fees that are normally going to be applied to every other loan. The only real difference is that funding fee. And that's going to depend on if it's the first time being used, if it's, subsequent use, and how much you're putting down, if you're putting money down versus not putting money down. So there's like a whole chart to it on what your funding fee would be if you have any at all. But overall, you're still going to have normal closing costs.
Yeah, just so everyone knows, there's always closing costs with everything. So
that's right. It's like death and taxes.
Yes, exactly. Okay, my man. Well, that was good. If you guys have any questions about inspections, closing costs, loans, everything, Cody and I are here. So reach out to us. Wine, yes, soon. Wine, definitely boxed wine. But maybe nicer wine in the future.
Yes.
But yeah, pay attention to Venture with Joe and Cody if you're a buyer or seller in today's market. This is a market that needs a little nuance. It has a little nuance and needs smart people handling it, because the incompetent ones are dying out fast. So
they are. Yep. Somehow we're still here.
I hate saying that, but yeah, we're still making it. We're hanging on for dear life. But yeah, if you haven't already, subscribe, like our podcast, and give us any feedback if you have it. 5-star review. I haven't even asked for a 5-star review. We need to ask in the very beginning.
That's true.
We need a 5-star reviews. So
we do.
Give us a 5-star review. Cody, give me a 5-star review, and I'll give ourselves one too. So
perfect. Let's do it.
Until next week, we may not have a next week. Cody's out of town, but we'll see if we can get a recording done. But hopefully next week. We'll see you later, man.
Awesome. That sounds like a plan.
Okay. Bye.
All right. We'll see you.